Go ahead. You're live on the air. Go with your question, sir.
Hello, Rabbi Singer. Um, Pleasure to speak with you once again. My question was regarding Hebrews 12, saying that Jesus was the single sacrifice, the final sacrifice, and that's kind of really the Christian's stance on him being the final
No, you know what?
atonement.
You know
I
what
know,
can be interesting though, Faye, because because they actually do deny the scripture. They have to deny it, because it clearly teaches against what they believe. So they'll try to say like, oh, they still have the covenant, even though God clearly said that they broke the covenant. He's gonna make a new covenant and all these things, right? They just have to live in denial of all these things. So it's kind of interesting in that respect. But I know what you're saying, though. I hear you.
I know in Hosea,
Yeah, I do. I do believe. Yeah, we're spiritual Israel. Yeah, or whatever. I don't like that term, but yeah, we are. We are. Hey, what's up, Gavin? God bless, brother. What's your problem with that? Look at what Paul says. Right? Paul says that we are the seed of Abraham. We're heirs according to the promise. And the author of Hebrews, which I would say is Paul too, but whatever you think, whoever you think wrote that, he's saying that the old covenant is gone away, and now we have a new covenant. So yes, we are the seed of Abraham. Okay, that's what the Bible clearly says. So when you try to say stuff like this, you don't believe we're spiritual Israel, do you? Well, prove that we're not. Prove that we're not. Explain what Paul's saying in Galatians 3:16 or at 3:29. Ridiculous.
Isaiah says there'll be many days without a temple, and Hosea says many days without a temple. Isaiah says
I don't know. I don't like again. The replacement theology is extreme. I'm what they call a supersessionist, but yes, I do believe yes, the church has growing out of Israel. I don't even like supersessionist. I don't even like that term, but we are grafted into Israel, into the olive tree of Israel, and now we are Israel. And Jews, if they don't believe, they have been cut off. If they believe, then they'll be grafted back in. It's one tree, one people of God, the church. The church in Israel are one. Yes. Okay.
the prayers of our lips replace the sacrifices. So my question is, if Jesus was the final atonement and he was sacrificed in 30 AD and the temple wasn't destroyed till 70 AD, sacrifices were continuing for at least another 40 years.
Yes.
And in Acts 2:46, it says that
That's right. That's right, Faye. Read that's like Romans 2:28 to 29, right? He is not a Jew who is one outwardly, but the Jew is the one that has the circumcision of the heart.
the disciples met in the temple courts daily. So my question is, if Jesus was the final atonement, the final sacrifices, how is that possible when the sacrifices continued for another 40 years in light that the actual disciples in Acts 2:46 that they went to the temple daily? I mean, I don't, how does it contradict?
They didn't go to the temple to do sacrifices. This is so utterly dumb. What is this? I swear they get people to call in. Like they script the call-ins. Because how could you be this dumb to think like, oh, they went to the temple, therefore they were doing sacrifices? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Yeah, it didn't take too long. Thanks. I just basically showed them what you showed me, man. But I had some slides too, so I kind of. But thanks, bro. But yeah, it's done. We're done. We're done with him. He's done. He's cooked. But yeah, so with this thing, right? Look, it's utterly dumb to think that just because they went to the temple, that therefore they were doing sacrifices. That's not like all that they did at the temple. Temple was huge, by the way, right? It's like the center of life in Jerusalem. So people will go there all the time, all kinds of things. They would just hang out there all day. There'd be beggars there. There'd be all kinds of stuff going on there. There's like a activity. There's people. There's a market, like little market thing, kind of thing, right? But Jesus chased them out. But I'm just saying, like, there was lots of activity there. So the disciples would go there because that's the most best place to go and preach to Jews about Jesus. So of course they would go to the temple every day, of course. But that doesn't mean that they were doing sacrifices. That's absurd. Of course they weren't doing sacrifices. And the Jews did sacrifices. That doesn't mean that that those were meaningful. It's like the last sacrifice was when Jesus died. That's why the veil of the temple was torn in two. So that's whatever sacrifices they did after that, it's nothing. God doesn't care about that. And that's why they got judged. That's why their temple got destroyed, because they went ahead and started doing sacrifices while Jesus Christ was the final sacrifice. That's a sin. That's why God destroyed their temple, you know?
It contradicts itself.
That's great.
Those two passages in Hebrews and in Acts.
Okay, go ahead. That's awesome. Go ahead and hang it down to me for your answer. That's a great question.
So many issues here, it's hard to know where to begin. So as it turns out, according to Christian tradition, Jesus was crucified either in the year 30 or 33. Well, it's not important. But the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, was destroyed in the 70s. So why did it continue? So that's one question. And the church fathers had to address this. They had to figure out, why wasn't the temple destroyed when Jesus was crucified? Right? Well, it went on for another 40 years, something like that, right? So they didn't. The church fathers wrestled with this issue.
By the way, it's not that hard to figure that either. Okay, as I said, when Jesus died, immediately the veil was torn. There's a veil between like the Holy of Holies and the inner court, they call it, or something. They call it the holy place, and then they have the Holy of Holies. That's where like the real central place of it, right? But but once that veil that was in front of that Holy of Holies was torn open, that means that place is done, man. It's cooked. God doesn't live there anymore, you know? And so the reason why he waited 40 years is because God is merciful. God is long-suffering. God was hoping that they would turn it around. But he knew they wouldn't, but he still gave them a chance. He always gives them a chance. He always does that. You can see that throughout the Bible as well.
And there were many different views of this, many different. The one that the church fathers used frequently was that because James, the just, was alive and he died, they thought in 69, which doesn't jive with Josephus, if Josephus is talking about the James, brother of Jesus. This is a controversial issue, but I don't want to get picky on. So that was an explanation. But your question, of course, heightens the issue much more, and that is that we have, very famously in the book of Acts, we have Paul bring offering. What do they bring offerings for? Absolutely correct. Moreover, you have another problem, this other problem.
No, you can bring offerings without doing a sacrifice. It's different, right? There's different offerings. You can read in Leviticus, there's different kinds of offerings. Okay, so even Paul brought an offering in Acts chapter 20, I think it is. And stuff like that, right? They bring offerings, or 21. It's Acts chapter 21. But anyway, they bring offerings. That doesn't mean that they actually did a sacrifice. That's totally different.
It makes the other issues seem negligible. The other issue is, I think you know what's coming. In Tanakh, specifically in the book of Ezekiel, Sefer Yechezkel, we have the most detailed prophecy of the Messianic age. We have the unparalleled passages about Mashiach. Now, of course, so much of what we find in Yechezkel is common to what you find in Isaiah, but you do have prophecies about the final Messianic third temple that really are unparalleled. We have the unused blueprints of the third Beis HaMikdash there, and the Levites.
No, well, look, there's talk about that stuff, but that doesn't mean that's the literal thing necessarily, you know. Maybe like a vision. Like in Ezekiel, they have this vision of the temple, right? But that's clearly not the temple that they built when they went back. So people will say, "Oh, that's the third temple," but maybe it's just a vision of something else. Like we don't like prophecies like that, man. It doesn't mean everything's exactly literal, like people think. It's so dumb.
And the Kohanim resuming or bring all the offerings, sin offerings. Ezekiel 43, 44, 45, it's all there. And none of that, Mashiach himself.
It means patient, but it's a little bit more than just patient, because he means long suffering. Like he's suffering when the people sin. It hurts him, but he puts up with it because he loves them, right? So it is basically the same as patient, but it's a little bit more than just patient as well. So
himself is bringing korbanos. Mashiach himself is offering not just any offering, but is bringing a sin offering. for his own unintentional sins and the unintentional sins of the people. It says it openly. He's called the Nasi. He's called.
Ooh. Oh yeah, exactly. So this is Ezekiel 54. That's what I was telling you about before. So yeah, okay, that happens. Okay, whatever. So they're trying to tell you that this. What is he saying about this? What is he saying, that this has to happen or something? Maybe it will happen. Maybe there is going to be a third temple. Why does that make? Why does that? What problem is that for our religion? There's no problem at all. It has no relation to our religion. Although maybe they're trying to say that because there's a sin offering, that therefore Jesus wasn't the last sin offering, right? Is that what they're trying to say? But look, man. First of all, okay, this could be some kind of memorial sin offering, because if you look in the Hebrew, it's different. This is a weird translation, and also it could be that it's just a vision, or it's not literally going to happen like that. That's the other thing about these prophecies; are not always literal, you know. So I'm sorry, it's not a reasonable argument against our faith.
He's called the prince. 45, 20, and 22. No, what's going on? I mean, this is why I want to just talk to the Christians. I know you're angry at me, or you're angry at Jews, or maybe you're not angry, you're beside yourself. I don't know what. This is why with Jews are studying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the law is like a teacher too, right? It's not as if we just obey the law. Like we don't obey the letter. We serve the law through the Spirit. That's what Paul says in Romans 7. So that's what we're supposed to do. Not like trying to follow the letter of the law. That's not what we're supposed to do. And also, we're not under the law, but the law is holy and just and good. But the law is an instruction for us in how to be good people. So we follow the spirit of the law. We serve the Spirit. We serve the law through the Spirit.
Studying Tanakh, and then at some stage we are introduced to Christianity. We just can't understand why anyone would be a Christian. I'm being honest with you. We don't dislike you, but we're shocked that someone would be a Christian.
The prince.
The real reason
what do you mean, Prince in Daniel? The prince in Daniel doesn't seem to be Jesus. No, it seems to be like there's the Prince of Persia, and then there's which prince are you talking about? I don't know. Anyway.
Is that Christians study the Christian Bible, as I mentioned earlier, before they study any part of the Hebrew Bible. And Christians don't study the end of Ezekiel. They just don't. Except for a very few studious ones who study it. There are some. You know, they go off to Dallas Theological, they go to Moody. Some do. Very few.
Dallas Theological and Moody. Because they love that stuff. They think it's all literal. And again, like, look, it doesn't. We don't have to believe everything in the thing is literal, man. Almost like if you think about what the prophecies about Jesus, let's take those, right? They do happen. They do occur. They are literal. They do happen literally, right? But it's not the way nobody reading that would have thought that that's what would happen. Like it says that he is pierced. Nobody would ever think back then. No one would ever think that means he's going to be crucified. It is impossible for a Jew to think that the Messiah is going to be crucified. It's literally unthinkable for them. Okay? So that's how prophecy is. It's actually like, yeah, it does come true literally, yeah. But it comes true literally in a way that you could never anticipate. You know? That's what happens. So when these people try to tell you, oh, Ezekiel 45, so that means Christianity is wrong. It's just utterly stupid. And they don't think about all the problems with their dumb religion too. For example, they broke the covenants. What kind of religion do they have now? Where's their priests? Where's your temple? What religion are you? What are you doing? What does God care about you anymore? Like, what are you talking about? You know, they don't have a nation. They don't have a temple. They don't have a priest class. They have some rabbis and some book that's not even the book of God, the Talmud. But they don't talk about that. They try to sow doubt in your heart over their ridiculous misinterpretation of the Old Testament, which they don't even understand it anymore. They can't even read it. If they read the Old Testament as the word actually says, they'll understand that their religion is dumb and they'll believe in Jesus. So that's why they can't read it. They have to read the Talmud and use the Talmud to interpret, quote unquote, the true scripture. And that's why they'll never understand. So please don't listen to these people, these Jews trying to like sow doubt in your heart about the Bible. It's unreal. But this guy's a shill anyway. Like most Jews wouldn't even do this. It's not like Jews do this. It's like these people are shills. I had another video about this shill rabbi I made the other day.
few do. Really, very few do. For 99%, 0.9% of the Christians, when I say this, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They have never read it in their lives, never. And these are not hard chapters to read at all. It's a theme that comes up in every single show, I think. And that is, people say, how could Hebrews, you said Hebrews 12. You don't have to go so far into Hebrews 12. You go further back, Hebrews 9, 10, that's what really comes through very strong. That the sacrificial system never even worked. It was temporal. After all, how could the blood of bulls and goats atone for sin? It's all foreshadowing. That's chapter 8. That chapter 10. There's all this kind of language. Hebrews, instead of the book of Hebrews, the epistle to the Hebrews, was written while the second temple was standing. It's earlier than the Gospels. The book of Hebrews is older than the Gospels.
Look, because that's the other thing. See, a lot of these secular people will try to tell you that the Gospels were written after 70 AD. Or they'll try to put these late dates for everything, okay? And look, I'm just telling you, man, it doesn't make any sense. Like the idea that these people would write the story of Jesus Christ and not include any discussion of the temple whatsoever, it makes no sense. You know, if the temple was destroyed, they would reflect on that in their writings. They would talk about it. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Now, I'm not saying every single book would have it, but they would have something in it. But there's nothing about it. And the whole thing, the only thing we have about the temple being destroyed is when Jesus predicts it. And if you have, imagine you're writing the story of Jesus Christ and he predicts the destruction of the temple. And then you actually see the destruction of the temple. Wouldn't you write that in the book to say, hey, look, Jesus, exactly what Jesus said? That's what happened. You know, they try to say, oh, no. They just didn't want to include it. It's so dumb.
The Gospel was written after the temple was destroyed, because he was written even before the war, which began in 66. So the Beis Hamikdash temple and its offerings were operating in full order. And Hebrews is there to say that Jesus...
This is the thing about this guy, Glory. These people hate Jews too, eh? They're wicked. They're just shells. They're just like this guy's probably a Satanist or a Luciferian or whatever you want to call these people. They do not. They're like they pretend to be Jews to get in, to get to get donations and get play, get in the community and stuff. But they're not, man. They're wicked.
Replaces everything, and Hebrews says explicitly there's no more sacrifices for sin. See Hebrews 10:18. This is very explicit stuff. It's all Bugs Bunny, and it doesn't matter if one Bugs Bunny story doesn't agree with another Bugs Bunny. It doesn't matter.
It's all Bugs Bunny. Jesus Christ is Bugs Bunny. That's what these people want to tell you, man. Listen, look, I understand. I understand how some people might disagree with our faith, and they might have some questions about it or whatever. That's totally fine. Okay, we can talk about that. But anybody who tries to come and tell you that the Christian faith is Bugs Bunny, when it's like it's followed by billions of people, okay, the smartest people in world history. And we talked about how it's the origin of science, the origin of civilization in many ways. Like the civilization that was before was brutal, cruel, wicked, human sacrifice and slavery everywhere you went. Jesus changed all that. Okay, the idea that the Bible is just a bunch of Mickey Mouse stuff, it's utterly dumb. When people talk like that, just ignore them. Just ignore them. They've already left the realm of legitimate debate. They are not serious interlocutors if they have to say that about our faith. Okay, ridiculous.
It's not really Bugs Bunny. You know what the Christian Bible is? It's Superman. That's it. Jesus is Superman. There's really him. No one knows who. Why does he Superman?
Jesus is Superman. Jesus is Superman. See, this is how you know. Like, look, man. As soon as somebody talks like that, they try to make it look like silly or whatever. That's ridiculous. Okay, just ignore them. Just don't even pay attention to them. They're idiots.
Because Superman is people thought didn't even know who he was. He was just a reporter for a newspaper in Gotham, right? No one knew who he was. But when he was needed, he suddenly came around and did supernatural things. And then after he was done saving the day, he changes in a phone booth, and then he goes back and hides again. And that's, in fact, half the book of Mark. The first 8 chapters of the book of Mark.
The thing is about Superman is it's created by Jews. And it's kind of telling the story of Jews in America. Like he's like an outsider. He comes and he's gonna save the world or save like America or whatever. Like that's kind of their fantasy. You know what I mean? That's what it was. And even a lot of the things that in his name and stuff, like his name is Kalel. Kalel, right? Kalel in Hebrew means the voice of God, you know? And so a lot of this stuff with Superman is very Jewish, very Freemasonic and stuff. I'm not saying Jewish is Freemasonic, but they're doing some kind of weird Freemason thing with that thing, you know?
Mark. No one knows who this guy is. They have no clue who he is. And it's not just unique to Mark. It infiltrates all the Gospels. No one knows who this guy is. It's not me saying it. In the Gospels, we are told, Jesus asks, who do you say that I am? And no one has a clue. What do you mean no one has a clue? That's right before the crucifixion. This is at the end of the day.
No, this is not no one has a clue. Peter literally answers him directly saying that he is the Christ, the Son of God. Peter directly answers them immediately. Okay, so the idea that nobody has a clue is utterly stupid. And also, by the way, like, look, man, look, John came to tell them that their Messiah was coming, right? All the people that went to go and get baptized by John, they all were saved. Every single one of them was saved. They believed in the Messiah. Now, Jesus comes, and some of them might not be like, oh, he's not the Messiah. They might not have understood. That's different, man, because he's not coming in the Messiah that they think. They think of Messiah as the second coming, because they don't understand that there's two comings here. So they think like, oh, the Messiah, when the Messiah comes, it's going to be the vengeance of God. But Jesus closed the book. Jesus read the first, like I'm talking about Luke 4:18. Jesus read the first part. He read about how he's going to preach to the captives, heal the sick and the blind and all that. He read that part. And then he closed the book. But if you keep reading that prophecy in Isaiah 61, it says that the day of vengeance of our God. Because Jesus closed the book, because that's coming later. That's down the line. When he comes back, that's going to be the day of vengeance of our God. So the Jews back then, they were thinking, okay, when the Messiah comes, it's going to be the day of vengeance of our God. So when they see Jesus, they don't understand. They don't get it, you know? But some of them still got it, like Peter and the disciples and other people like that.
Well, what was he walking around saying? They really didn't know. Peter then says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And in case you think that I am misinterpreting these passages, I'm not. Because Jesus' response to Peter is that flesh and blood couldn't reveal this. What do you mean flesh and blood couldn't reveal it? I think you're running around saying you're Mashiach. He wasn't. So it really is, that's why the Superman series that I remember when I was a little boy was, on television. It was at that time I thought it was very interesting. But that's what it was. It's like out of nowhere, Superman, this is real mythology. And I've taught.
No, it's not. It's not at all. He's literally fulfilling the prophecies as they're told. The prophecy says he's going to preach good news to the captives, bring sight to the blind, and all this stuff. He did fulfill that. He fulfilled all the prophecies. He actually fulfilled them literally. That's why it's kind of like, it is literal fulfillment, but it's just like I'm saying to you, it's literal fulfillment, but not in the way you would expect. You know? Because like I say, when the Jews thought of the Messiah, they thought he was going to come destroy the Romans, give them back the kingdom, take over, be a mighty warrior king. And Jesus is a warrior king. But that's when he comes back. The first time he came as a servant, and that's what we see. And that's also in the prophecies too, though. That's what they don't understand, you know?
I taught you this before, that whenever you see these
yeah. Thanks, bro. Thanks, but you're the one that found it, so good on you, bro. Thanks for letting me know.
oddities in the Christian Bible, it's really a defense, it's an apologetic, because people are going, this guy never claimed to be Mashiach, what are you talking about? So it was always the secret. This is most pronounced where you would expect it to be most pronounced, in the least embellished of the Gospels. It's not a high bar, but Mark is the least embellished of the full Gospels, is the earliest of all. And in fact, Luke and Matthew, of course, copy and paste almost all the book of Mark. So he really is a Superman figure. As it turns out, Tanakh tells us openly that the offerings will return. Why don't we have punishments after Mashiach comes of like other kinds of sins? Because there will not be any sins of rebellion when the Messiah comes. When the true Messiah comes, there won't be rebellion in the world. But people still make mistakes, meaning people aren't careful. Just like I tell you, I like to cook. I'm sure some of you also like to cook in the kitchen, or cook because you have to. You never cut yourself in the kitchen, you never put your hand on a hot pot and burn yourself? Of course you have. Why? Because you wanted to kill yourself? No, because you were being irresponsible. And your head was somewhere else. You're on the telephone, and you're talking to some yenta, and...
So this is just dumb, man. Like, look, I don't know, man. I hope you guys understand. Like, these people do not respect the scriptures. They do not. First of all, Jews do not respect the Old Testament. They don't look. They don't read it in what it says. They broke the covenant. They don't have a temple anymore. What kind of religion do they have now? They don't have a religion. It's a made-up religion. They're just clinging to something from the past that doesn't exist anymore. You know? So ridiculous. And it's so stereotypical. I know. He loves it. He just jumps on it, like, because it gives him more play, you know?
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.